Good morning to you all, and I'm really honored to be a part of this forum. Uh, Before I was ushered in, there was a slight confusion-laden discussion on genoeconomics, right? Okay, fine. This is nothing but a combination of genetics and economics, which Dr. Joanne Rolle, the convener, and we have just coined just to confuse you and to generate some interest. All right. So the moot question what Dr. Rolle posed me one fine morning was, does the genetic basis of an entrepreneur or the genetic algorithm architecture framework of an entrepreneur really is a quotient of his or her success? Why is it that many entrepreneurs start, grow, stagnate, and decline? Why is it that many startups start and they just wither off? What is the genetics behind that? What is the economics behind that? Is genomics really an indicator of entrepreneurial success? This is a subject that we have just started exploring, and I'll be happy if anyone in the audience can marry up with us for taking forward this project. Right. We start with a famous quotation by Switzer of 2021 recently. He says that our brains are best suited for certain situations. This brain has got its own capacity, which Dr. Padmakali, the speaker this morning, and we really had a long tele chat that the neuroplasticity of the brain really is an unseen force, even in the world of business and entrepreneurship. And Switzer is of the view that we prefer to think in causal terms. For everything, we want a causal term, right? Everything we want a causal term, and we would like predictable outcomes. We always want positive outcomes, good outcomes, predictable, what suits our taste, belief, faith, and what suits our game plan, our strength, weaknesses, aspirations, and needs. And we want to open doors to all those forces when we know what is behind it. That means when there is an air of predictability. So, for all the entrepreneurs to be successful, or what I say, full of success, do they need to know all this predictability? Then we have no factors like uncertainty, probability, vulnerability, complexity, ambiguity, turbulence, non-linearity, etc., etc. But when we do not know anything, we undervalue the potential outcomes because that's ignorance. Maybe some bias also comes into play. So today we observe that there is an intersection of genomics, neuroscience, and entrepreneurship. It's high time that the world of management, that is schools of management, that the universities of management get baptized in the area of neuroscience and even genetics. Because the economists present here, they will argue with me. It's an academic argument. How is it that genes play a role in economics? Well, my interaction with the late Professor Daniel Kahneman made me believe so in 2011. And that's the year, ladies and gentlemen, I got married to neuroeconomics by giving divorce to all what I was fiddling around. Genetics, we have a new area called genetic economics, cellular economics, molecular economics. That means when you and I, as an entrepreneur, as a business entity, when we are taking a decision, how do our genes play a role? Why is it that the son of a businessman is very comfortably cruising along, stating that I'm going to take over my father's business? If you offer him something better or something worse, he says, no, I'm going to continue with my father's business. And family business is a leading science today in the Western world, not in India. So how do these genetic factors and the neurobiological processes influence entrepreneurial behavior and success? By taking care of the biases. Dr. Sikta Singh, one of the audience members, she had posed a question to the previous speaker, how biases affect decisions. Ma'am, I would like to submit very humbly in front of the entire audience that this is what Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman did throughout their lives. Biases do impact, impinge, and influence decision making. Bullet number 2, when I'm speaking of the neurobiological processes, these are all the dynamics of the 5 sense organs that play a role in tandem in entrepreneurial behavior, whether it is the eyes, nose, tongue, skin, or the ears. Because when you are smelling a fruit, you are taking a decision whether to buy it or not, whether to consume it or not. That's olfaction. When you're seeing through your eyes, that is eye tracking. when you're thinking to your brain, that's transcranial direct stimulation, or fMRI, or the EEG. When you're thinking from your heart, it is the ECG. And finally, when you are fretting, it's the sweat conductance, what we call as the electrodermal apparatus. So the questions that Dr. Role posed me was, can the genetic markers and the neuroimaging data that we get by scanning the five sense organs predict entrepreneurial outcomes? We think yes, because the genes inside and the neuroimaging data from outside, they make a very formidable combination. And what are the challenges that arise when combining these three pillars, the genetics, neuroeconomics, and business data? Yes, there will be bias because I'm not an expert. There will be some problem because the apparatus or the equipment of the gadget is not functioning. There will be some mishap, technical glitch, like the software will get corrupt en route. There might be a electricity failure. There might be some mistake, calculated or miscalculated or not never calculated. So the forces seen and unforeseen, they will definitely play a role. But these are the challenges which we as behavioral scientists, management scientists, in combination with neurologists and radiologists, can really open the door to a huge world. So there's a need to synchronize the molecular genetics with behavioral data. And this, ladies and gentlemen, will offer new causal explanations, which under the direction and supervision of Dr. Role, I'm working for my postdoc. The genetic determinism, this is the word we give. They highlight opportunities for mapping genetic proclivities. You know, the DNA structure, the RNA structure of a human being, not the helix, what Watson and Crick had proposed decades back, but the modern gadgets available in the market. So nice. Available in the hospitals, available in the behavioral lab. They are now doing not only three-dimensional, but also four-dimensional mapping of the genetic structures. Four-dimensional. The fourth dimension is another presentation per se. So, as we all know, entrepreneurship involves very complex cognitive capacities. The mind is always at friction, and the whole trouble is that, ladies and gentlemen, we have 1 trillion neurons. And the C. elegans, the microorganism, which is less than 1 millimeter in length, it has got exactly 308 neurons, and they exactly take the same decision what a normal, rational human being takes. So 1 trillion minus 308, whatever is the 6-figure, 7-figure residue, is it a waste in our body, in our mind, in our brain? I think so. Because studies on C. elegans by entrepreneurial scientist and marketing specialist Dino Levy at Israel, he has found out that the C. elegans exactly take the decision when posed with a problem vis-a-vis the problem that is posed to a human being. Why do we have so many trillions of neurons in our brain? I don't know. That's another genetic combat to be taken care of. So this has now really generated among the management experts and the economic experts in the biological foundations, which provide potential windows. And now this algorithmic entrepreneurship, this is a new concept which has come to the management world. Algorithmic managership, algorithmic entrepreneurship, algorithmic decisionship, leadership. These are all models based on empirical, experiential, and lab-induced experimental studies. And they are also addressing the challenges that we are posing for the genetic world. So again, the moot question comes back. How do we take care of this molecular genetics and business data? There is only one answer. Address it with full force. So now I would also usher in the mathematicians and the statistical experts or the operational research experts. They need to come and join hands with us because they are the ones who can really carry out some sort of an optimization. Sonum bonum, what we are doing is that we are challenging the orthodox philosophy of decision making, right? And here, let me interject the concept of heterodox economics. What is heterodox economics? We respect whatever old classical models, Keynesian models, everything that was given right from the days of Aristotle and Plato and J.S. Mill. But we provide a counter argument We provide a prototype, we provide a replica to all those. And this is orthodox, unconventional, right? Heterodoxically, we can also, and we are also employing the empirical, cognitive, and neural approach. Anyone wishing to go in for more candid explanations, please refer to the publications of Dr. Role and mine. Recently, we have published about 18 papers on all these aspects. So I was given 12 minutes initially. So now the questions, the issues for further research is how does an entrepreneur juggle between forces? Seen, unseen, felt, unfelt, perceived, and not perceived. He has to juggle. He has to take a risk. He has to take a probability. He has to take an uncertain approach. He has to go along the unbeaten path, because that's what is entrepreneurship, to take care of the threats, I would say. And how does he plan towards successful planning? Well, if he has got children, boy or a girl, son or a daughter, he has to first carry out a genetic mapping of his offsprings and see whether they have a tendency or they have a leaning, posturing towards entrepreneurship, business, management, etc., etc. One should not force that you have a knack for cultural activities like painting, drawing, dancing, music, etc., etc. This side of the brain is heavily skewed. Jolly well you go for this. No, that would be a forced successful planning leading to a failure one fine evening. And is it always that entrepreneurs plan to hand over his business to his children? Yes, they do. Because they think that my family members, my children, my wife, my brothers, sisters, they're well versed with the dynamics of my business, our family business. So it's safer to hand over to them. But there's a question mark. Do they have the knack? Do they have the aptitude? I always talk of a cognitive CAP, CAP, CAP. What does CAP stand for? CAP stands for capability, ability, and potential. All this combine into what we call as the relevance, significance, and validity of maturity. Right. Again, are his children well equipped mentally, physically, and brain wise? Again, that mapping will tell. What patterns emerge from a gene mapping or brain mapping? Yes. If I'm not wrong, the American president, the Honorable American president, has initiated a brain project in which brain mapping is given the #1 priority preference over all other mapping. So gene mapping or brain mapping, this is called the brain project of the Honorable President of USA. It definitely will depict the horoscope of becoming an entrepreneur. Horoscope, as I jocularly say, is it horror or scope, right? So does luck play a part in becoming entrepreneurs? We in India, we rely on astrology. So astro management is a new field that has again now come up. So does luck play a part? Yes, luck does play a part when you can escape those anti-business forces. And is it in the blood or genes or in the brains? All the three have to be tested. Blood through CBC, complete blood cells, gene through genetic mapping, and brain through brain scans. Thank you very much. And these are the thoughts for future. Is there a genetic basis? Yes, there is. Can genetics and neuroscience combine? Yes, they can. What are the challenges? Already we have spoken. Should findings shape entrepreneurial approach success? Definitely, for a start, till we reach an amicable end. And finally, are there methodological barriers? Yes, there are. We have to resolve it. And can we separate insights about innate potential from ideas? Yes, we must, because methodology is a big question mark, which all of us love to argue on. And the finest methodology is that the business management researchers have to dovetail the neurologist and the radiologist to bring in a new curtain for discovery. Thank you very much. The research is still underway, and we would love to have some comments from the experienced